Horrifying. I knelt on the ice-cold marble floor in the middle of a multi-million-dollar gala, staring at the man who once ordered the hit that made my husband fall from the scaffolding to his death. Now convulsing, foaming at the mouth, eyes rolled back, white blood spilling from his lips. Hundreds of billionaires, politicians, cameras all pointed straight at us. The doctors whispered, "Ruptured brain aneurysm. No saving him. He only has a few minutes left." And then my 2 7-year-old daughters, the same little girls who once slept curled up on a thin mattress in a wind-leaking apartment, pushed through the crowd, placing their small hands on his head and chest. A warm golden light burst out. The entire room held its breath. Ethan Caldwell, the greatest enemy of my life, opened his eyes again. Alive. In front of all of Chicago. The only question hanging in the air right now is, why would a destitute single mother save the life of the very man who destroyed hers? And what will happen when the most horrifying secret is finally exposed? One of those 2 little girls is actually his own biological daughter. Are you ready to step into this tragedy of forgiveness and this insane, all-consuming love? Before we dive into this chilling and mysterious story, please remember to subscribe to the channel Alex Truths and like this video. Every subscription, like and share from you is a huge spiritual gift and an incredibly profound source of motivation for the channel's growth, so we can continue bringing wonderful videos every day to everyone. There would be no greater joy than receiving your love and support through the comments you leave right below this video comments, sharing your emotions or telling us which province or city you're living and working in while listening to this story. Alright, let's continue together and immerse ourselves in this amazing, captivating story that's filled with deep emotions. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and in October 2025, I still woke up every morning wondering if today would be the day the world finally crushed what little was left of me. I was 34, a single mother scraping by in Chicago's South Side, in a crumbling apartment building, where the heat rarely worked, and the wind howled through cracks in the windows like it was trying to steal the last breath from your lungs. My girls Lily and Mia, my 7-year-old twins, slept curled together on the single mattress we shared on the floor, because the bed frame had collapsed months ago under the weight of too many unpaid bills. Their small bodies were always cold. I draped every blanket, every towel, every scrap of clothing over them at night, but it never seemed enough. I hadn't eaten a full meal in 3 days. Breakfast was half a stale granola bar split between the 3 of us. Lunch, whatever leftovers. The corner bodega threw out dinner, whatever I could stretch from the food pantry's meager handouts. My arms were thin, almost skeletal. My ribs sharp under skin that had lost its softness years ago. Sleep a few fitful hours when exhaustion finally won over fear. My back ached constantly from scrubbing floors, my hands cracked and bleeding from harsh cleaners. But I kept going because stopping meant the girls went hungry, and that was a pain I refused to let them feel. I worked the overnight shift cleaning Ethan's high-rise on Michigan Avenue, the gleaming glass tower that housed luxury condos, upscale offices, and his real estate empire. Ethan Caldwell. Everyone in Chicago knew the name. 40 stories of polished marble, crystal chandeliers, and views that made the city look like it belonged to him. He was 38, fair-skinned, American-born, the kind of man who stepped out of Blacktown cars in tailored suits that cost more than I'd earn in 10 years. Dark hair, always perfectly combed, blue eyes that could freeze you in place. Powerful. Wealthy beyond imagination. And according to whispers among the night, staff ruthless when crossed. I never spoke to him. Maids like me were ghosts seen only when something needed fixing, forgotten the moment we left the room. But the girls, they were supposed to stay hidden in the basement break room. While I worked, a tiny space with flickering fluorescent lights, a chipped table, and a vending machine that rarely worked. They folded towels, sorted rags, stayed quiet. No one was allowed to see them. If security caught them upstairs, I'd lose the job, and then we'd truly have nothing. That night, the night everything began to unravel. I was mopping the executive floor at 3 a.m. The hallway was silent except for the soft hum of the air conditioning and the distant city traffic far below. My knees throbbed from hours on the hard marble. My stomach twisted with hunger so sharp it felt like knives. I paused to catch my breath, leaning against the wall, when I heard a low choked groan from behind the double doors of the corner office. I froze. No one was supposed to be here this late. Curiosity, stupid, dangerous curiosity, pulled me closer. I cracked the door just enough to see. Ethan Caldwell sat slumped at his massive oak desk, one hand pressed to his temple, the other gripping the edge so hard his knuckles were white. Sweat beaded on his forehead despite the cool air. His breathing came in shallow, ragged bursts. A bottle of prescription pills lay spilled across the desk, empty. He looked broken. The man who owned half the skyline looked like he was being torn apart from the inside. My heart slammed against my ribs. I should have backed away. I should have run. But something pity maybe, or the same exhaustion that lived in my own bones held me there. He didn't see me. His eyes were squeezed shut, face contorted in pain. Then he whispered so low I barely caught it. Not yet. Not like this. I slipped back into the hallway, legs shaking. My mind raced. He was sick, seriously sick, the kind of sick that made powerful men fire doctors and hide in shadows. I knew that look. I'd seen it in the mirror too many nights when despair clawed at me. Down in the basement, the girls were waiting. Lily sat cross-legged on the floor, braiding Mia's hair with careful fingers. They looked up when I entered, green eyes wide and watchful. Mommy, Mia whispered. "You okay?" I forced a smile. "Just tired, baby." But Lily tilted her head, studying me. "You saw something bad." They always knew. From the time they were tiny, they'd sensed things, illness, pain, the black rot, they called it, when something was wrong inside a person. 2 years ago, they'd healed a stray dog hit by a car on our block. The broken leg knit together under their small hands, glowing softly like warm sunlight. I'd been terrified. I'd made them promise never show anyone. Never use it where strangers could see. The world wasn't kind to miracles. It dissected them. That night, though, Lily's eyes darkened. "The man upstairs," she said softly. "The one with the big desk. There's something very black in his head. It's growing, like ink spreading." Mia's lower lip trembled. "It's eating him, Mommy. Every day bigger." I pulled them close, heart pounding. "No, we stay away. We don't get involved." But the words felt hollow. I'd seen his pain, felt it echo in my own chest, and in the days that followed, it only got worse. I started noticing him more. He'd appear unexpectedly, striding through the lobby at odd hours, face pale, hand subtly braced against walls as if the floor might tilt. Once I watched from the service elevator as he staggered, caught himself on a marble pillar, breathing hard. No one else saw. He straightened instantly, mask back in place, but I'd seen the terror flash in those blue eyes, the fear of weakness, the fear of being seen. My own life spiraled deeper into misery. The landlord raised rent again. I couldn't pay. He changed the locks while we were out begging at the food pantry. I came home to our things in black trash bags on the sidewalk, rain soaking the mattress, the girls' few toys ruined. We slept in the laundromat that night, huddled on plastic chairs while dryers rumbled. The girls didn't cry. They just held me tighter. The next shift I was so exhausted I nearly fainted cleaning the penthouse hallway. Security almost caught the girls sneaking up to bring me water. I begged them to stay hidden, voice cracking. "Please, babies, if they take you away." Then came the confrontation on the street. It was a cold October evening. I'd walked the girls to the bus stop after school. Public transit was all we could afford. 2 men in dark coats stepped out from an alley blocking our path. One had a scar across his cheek. "Caldwell's getting soft," he sneered. "Victor says it's time someone reminded him who really runs this city." They grabbed my arm. I screamed. The girls clung to my legs. A black SUV screeched to a stop. Ethan stepped out alone, no bodyguards. His face was thunder. "Let her go." The scarred man laughed. "Or what you gonna play hero for the cleaning lady?" Ethan didn't shout. His voice was low, lethal. "Or I make sure Victor hears your name first when I burn his operation to the ground." Tension crackled. The men hesitated. Ethan stepped closer, slow, deliberate. "Walk away. Now." They released me. Backed off, disappeared into shadows. I stood trembling, girls pressed against me. Ethan turned. His eyes met mine for the first time, not cold, not dismissive. Something raw flickered there. Guilt, recognition. He looked at the girls, really looked, and his jaw tightened. "Are you hurt?" His voice was softer than I'd ever imagined. I shook my head numb. Dizzy. The world tilted. He reached out, hesitated, then gently steadied my elbow. His touch was warm, steady. "Get in the car. I'll take you home." I wanted to refuse. Pride screamed no. But the girls were shivering, and I had nowhere else. In the back seat of that warm, leather-scented SUV, I felt the chasm between us widen and collapse at once. He was everything I wasn't. Powerful, protected, untouchable. Yet his hand lingered near mine, not quite touching, as if afraid I'd shatter. The drive was silent. My heart pounded with confusion, fear, a strange, aching curiosity. Why help us? Why look at us like we mattered? When we reached the ruined apartment building, he stared at the trash bag still on the curb. His face darkened, remorse sharp and violent in his eyes. "This isn't right," he murmured almost to himself. "This isn't how it should be." He turned to me. "Tomorrow, come to my office. Bring the girls. We'll fix this. I stared, disoriented. Why? His gaze held mine, intense, conflicted. Because some debts aren't paid in money, and in that moment something shifted inside him. I saw it, the ice cracking, guilt surging like a storm. He looked at me, at us, like a man drowning, suddenly seeing light. I didn't understand it yet, but I felt it. A spark. A dangerous, impossible spark. The morning after Ethan Caldwell's black SUV dropped us at the ruined curb, I stood in the cold October wind of 2025, staring at the black trash bags that held everything we owned. Rain had turned the cardboard boxes to mush. The girls' one stuffed bear, Lily's favorite, the one with the missing eye, was soaked through and leaking stuffing like slow tears. Mia kept reaching for it, small fingers trembling, then pulling back as if touching it would make the loss real. I knelt beside them, arms wrapped tight around their thin shoulders. My own coat, threadbare, bought secondhand 3 winters ago, was no match for the wind that sliced through Chicago's South Side streets. My teeth chattered so hard I tasted blood. Hunger clawed at my stomach again, sharper now, like a living thing trying to hollow me out from the inside. I hadn't eaten since the half granola bar the day before. My head swam. Black spots danced at the edges of my vision. Yet I forced my voice steady. "We'll be okay," I whispered. "Mommy will fix it." The lie tasted bitter. I had no money, no savings, no family left who would answer my calls. My late husband, James, had gambled away our future in small construction loans. He never should have taken loans tied to men who answered to Ethan Caldwell's network. When the payments stopped, the accident came a fall from scaffolding on a half-built condo tower downtown. Official report said slippery conditions. I knew better. I had begged James to stop, cried in our tiny kitchen while he promised one more score. Then he was gone, and the debt transferred to me. $250,000. A number so large it felt imaginary. The collectors didn't care that I was a widow with twins. They cared only about the balance. Work it off, they said, or the girls would disappear into foster care or worse. So I signed the papers. Overnight janitorial in Ethan's buildings. 18-hour shifts. No sick days. No questions. Invisible. That was how I became a ghost in his empire. I carried the girls' hands in mine and walked the 6 blocks to the nearest shelter. The line stretched around the block. Mothers like me, fathers with hollow eyes, elderly people, wrapped in newspapers. We waited 3 hours in the drizzle. When our turn came, the intake worker looked at my soaked clothes, my shaking hands, the twins clinging to my legs, and sighed. "Full tonight," she said. "Come back tomorrow." I nodded, numb. The girls didn't cry, they never did when things got this bad. They just pressed closer as if their small bodies could keep me from breaking apart. We ended up in the laundromat again that night. I spread our one dry blanket on the floor between 2 rows of dryers. The heat from the machines warmed us enough to stop the worst of the shivering. Lily curled into my side, Mia on the other. I stroked their hair until their breathing evened out, then stared at the ceiling tiles, counting cracks to keep from screaming. Inside my chest, something tore wider every hour. How had it come to this? I used to dream of a little house with a yard school plays, birthday cakes. Now I measured survival in quarters for the dryer and whether the girls would wake with coughs from the damp. Humiliation burned hotter than hunger. I was 34. I should have been building something. Instead, I was nothing, a debtor, a cleaner, a mother who couldn't even keep her children warm. The next evening, I dragged myself to the high-rise for my shift. My uniform hung loose on my frame. I'd lost another 5 pounds in the last month. The security guard at the service entrance gave me the usual once-over disdain mixed with indifference, then waved me through. I was scrubbing the marble lobby when I heard raised voices near the elevators. Victor Reyes, shorter than Ethan, sharper features, always dressed like he was auditioning for a gangster movie, stood toe-to-toe with 2 of Ethan's men. His voice carried low and venomous. "Caldwell thinks he can play both sides forever. Legit developer by day, kingpin by night. Word spreading he's cracking. Migraines. Doctors running scared. If he's weak, Chicago's open season." One of Ethan's men stepped forward. "Careful, Victor. You're on his property." Victor laughed cold. For now. I ducked behind a pillar, heart hammering. The girls were in the basement break room again, supposed to be folding rags, staying out of sight. If Victor's people ever noticed them. I finished the lobby in record time, then hurried downstairs. The girls were waiting, faces pale. Mommy, Lily whispered, "The bad men were here." I felt them. They want to hurt someone. Mia nodded. "They want to take things that aren't theirs." I pulled them into my lap, rocking gently. "No one's taking anything. I promise." But the promise felt thinner every day. 3 nights later, the worst happened. I was mopping the 23rd floor when the power flickered once, twice, then died. Emergency lights snapped on red and eerie. My phone had no signal. Panic rose in my throat. The girls. I ran for the service stairs, legs burning. Halfway down, I heard footsteps, heavy, deliberate, coming up from below. 2 men in dark jackets. One held a flashlight. The beam swept across my face. "Where are the kids?" the taller one asked. I backed against the wall. "What kids? Don't play dumb. We know Caldwell's hiding something. Little girls who see things. Victor wants them." Terror flooded me, ice in my veins, fire in my lungs. I lunged past them, shoving hard. They grabbed my arms. Pain shot through my shoulders. "Let go," my voice cracked, high and desperate. The shorter man laughed. "Boss says bring them quiet. You come too." I fought, kicking, twisting, until my knee connected with something soft. The tall one grunted, loosened his grip. I broke free, stumbled down the stairs, screaming the girls' names. I burst into the basement break room. Empty. The folding table overturned. Rags scattered. A single pink hair tie on the floor, lilies. My knees buckled. I sank down, hands over my mouth, rocking. No, no, no. The world narrowed to white noise, my heartbeat, my ragged breathing, the distant wail of sirens outside. I was nothing. Powerless. A mother who had failed. Then footsteps again. Different. Measured. Familiar. Ethan appeared in the doorway. Suit jacket gone, sleeves rolled up, face streaked with sweat, blood on his knuckles. Behind him, 2 of his men dragged the attackers, bruised, dazed. He saw me on the floor. Saw the empty room. Saw the hair tie. His expression shattered raw, violent remorse, twisting his features. He crossed the space in 3 strides, dropped to his knees in front of me. "Where are they?" His voice broke. I shook my head, tears burning. "Gone. They took them." He reached out, hesitated, then cupped my face with both hands. His palms were warm, trembling. "I'll get them back. I swear it." I stared into those blue eyes, storm-dark now, filled with something deeper than anger. Guilt. Horror. A fierce burning need to protect. "Why do you care?" I whispered, voice small, cracked. He swallowed hard. "Because the moment I saw you on that street, the moment I saw those girls." Something inside me woke up, something I thought died years ago. His thumbs brushed my tears. "I've spent my life building walls, hurting people who couldn't fight back, including you, including James." My breath caught. He knew the name. "I gave the order," he said quietly. "Not the fall that was an accident, but the pressure that led to it." I told myself it was business. Debts are debts. But every night since I see his face. And now yours. And theirs. His voice cracked. "I can't undo it, but I can stop it from happening again." I searched his face, saw the torment there, the war between the man he'd been and the one clawing to break free. My own heart tore in 2 directions, hatred for what he'd done and a strange aching pull toward the pain he carried. He stood, pulled me gently to my feet. "Come with me. We're finding them. Together." I let him lead me out past the stunned security into the elevator up to his penthouse. The doors opened to marble floors, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the glittering city furniture that probably cost more than my lifetime earnings. I stood in the doorway, filthy uniform, dripping arms wrapped around myself. The contrast crushed me, his world of light and warmth against mine of cold and hunger. He noticed. "Sit," he said softly. "Please." I shook my head. "I don't belong here. You do now." He stepped closer, close enough I could smell his cologne, expensive and clean. "Because I'm not letting you go back to that life. Not tonight. Not ever again." My legs gave out. I sank onto the nearest sofa, softest thing I'd touched in years. He knelt again, eye level. "I don't expect forgiveness," he said. "I don't deserve it, but I need you to know I'm going to protect you. All 3 of you. Whatever it costs." And in that quiet, suspended moment, something inside me cracked open. Not trust, not yet, but a tiny, dangerous seed of hope. While outside in the dark streets below, Victor's men waited, and somewhere in the city my girls were afraid. The penthouse felt like stepping into another world, one where warmth wasn't something you fought for, where light didn't flicker out when the power company cut the line. Marble floors gleamed under recessed lighting. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the Chicago skyline, glittering like scattered diamonds against the October night of 2025. The air smelled faintly of leather and clean linen. I stood just inside the doorway in my damp uniform, arms wrapped around my middle as if I could hold myself together. My shoes left faint wet prints on the rug that probably cost more than every piece of furniture I'd ever owned combined. Ethan moved with careful slowness, like he was afraid sudden motion would scare me away. He gestured toward a long cream-colored sofa. "Please, sit. You're shaking." I didn't want to. Sitting felt like surrender. But my legs trembled so badly I feared they'd give out. I lowered myself onto the edge of the cushion, perched ready to bolt. The fabric was impossibly soft, like sinking into a cloud. My cracked hands looked filthy against it. Shame burned up my throat. Ethan disappeared into what I assumed was a kitchen gleaming stainless steel. I glimpsed through an archway, then returned with 2 mugs of steaming tea and a plate of sliced apples, cheese, and crackers. Simple food, but to me it looked like a feast. For the girls when we find them, he said, quietly setting the plate on the glass coffee table. And for you. Now. I stared at the food. My stomach twisted violently, hunger so deep it hurt. Yet my hands stayed in my lap. I can't. His brow furrowed. Sarah, I don't take charity. The words came out sharper than I intended. I softened them immediately, voice dropping to the timid politeness I used with anyone who held power over me. Sir, thank you. But I can't. He knelt in front of me again, knees on the rug that probably cost thousands, so our eyes were level. The gesture undid something inside me. Powerful men didn't kneel. Not to women like me. It's not charity, he said, voice low and rough. It's necessity. You're pale. You're shaking. You haven't eaten properly in days, I can see it. And right now, the only thing keeping me from losing my mind is knowing you're safe. Please, eat something. The raw honesty in his eyes cracked my defenses. I reached out, slow trembling, and took a cracker. The first bite tasted like heaven and guilt at once. Tears stung my eyes as I chewed. He watched me not with pity, but with something fiercer remorse so deep it seemed to carve lines into his face. I did this to you, he whispered. Not just the debt. The fear. The hunger. The nights you spent cold while I slept in rooms like this. Every time I signed off on another enforcement, I told myself it was business. Clean. Necessary. But it wasn't. It was cruelty. I swallowed hard. You killed my husband. The words hung between us, quiet, terrible. Ethan closed his eyes for a long moment. When he opened them again, they were wet. I gave the order to pressure him. I didn't pull the trigger on that scaffold, but I might as well have. I've carried that weight every day since. And seeing you, seeing what I left behind, it's tearing me apart. Silence stretched. I ate another cracker slowly, mechanically, while my mind spun. Hatred should have been simple. It had kept me alive for years. But looking at him now, kneeling, broken eyes, pleading, I felt confusion rush in like cold water. Who was this man, the monster who'd ruined my life? Or the one who'd just fought through his own building to save my daughters from men he'd once called allies? He rose slowly. Tell me about them. Lily and Mia. Anything that might help me find them. I hesitated. Then, because the alternative was sitting in silence while terror ate me alive, I spoke. They're 7. Twins. Identical, except Lily has a tiny scar above her left eyebrow from when she fell off a playground slide at 4. They're quiet. Smart. Kind. My voice cracked. They have something special. Ethan's gaze sharpened, not suspicion, but intense focus. Special how I looked down at my hands. The cracked skin. The calluses. The dirt under my nails that never quite washed out. They can sense things. Pain. Illness. Hurt inside people. And sometimes, I swallowed. Sometimes they can make it better. He didn't laugh. Didn't scoff. He simply waited. 2 winters ago, I continued softly. A stray dog got hit by a car on our block. Broken leg. Bleeding. I was going to call animal control, but the girls knelt down first. They put their hands on him, one on his head, one on the leg. There was this soft light. Warm. Like sunlight through a window on a cold day. The bleeding stopped. The bones straightened. The dog stood up and walked away. Ethan exhaled slowly. And people? I nodded. My back, I heard it, carrying buckets up 4 flights when the elevator broke. Nights I couldn't lie flat. They'd place their hands there. The pain would ease. Not always gone completely, but bearable. They never ask for anything. They just want to help. His expression shifted shock wonder, then something deeper. Guilt renewed sharper now. And you've kept it hidden. Always. My voice trembled. The world isn't kind to things it doesn't understand. If anyone found out, they'd take them, study them, use them. I couldn't let that happen. Ethan rose and paced to the window, staring out at the city lights. His shoulders were rigid. When he spoke again, his voice was thick. Victor knows. That's why he took them. He thinks they're leverage. A weapon. Terror gripped me anew, cold, suffocating. Then we have to get them back. Now. He turned. We will. But first look at me, Sarah. I did. His eyes burned with something fierce and tender at once. I swear on whatever is left of my soul I will bring them home. And after that, he paused, throat working. I want to make this right, not just for them. For you. I've spent years building walls so high nothing could touch me. But you and those girls, you slipped through. And now I can't imagine a world where you're not safe, where you're not cared for, where you're still hungry, still cold, still afraid. The words landed like blows, soft ones but deep. My chest ached with confusion, fear, a strange burning curiosity. No one had ever spoken to me like this. No one had ever looked at me like I was worth protecting. I don't trust you, I whispered. I know. He stepped closer, close enough I could feel the heat from his body. And I don't expect you to. Not yet. But let me prove it. Let me show you that the man who hurt you can also be the man who keeps you safe. Before I could answer, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, face hardening. Victor's people were spotted near the old warehouse district. My men are moving in. He looked at me, torn between staying here and going out into the night. Go, I said softly. Bring my girls home. He nodded once. Then impulsively he cupped my cheek for a single heartbeat. His thumb brushed my skin, gentle, reverent. Stay here. Lock the door. Eat. Rest. I'll be back with them. He left, door closing softly behind him. I sat alone in the vast penthouse surrounded by wealth that felt obscene next to the memory of trash bags in the rain. I ate slowly, each bite a battle between gratitude and shame. Then I curled on the sofa, still in my uniform, and cried quietly into a throw pillow that smelled like clean cotton. Hours passed. I drifted in and out of exhausted sleep, dreams of cold nights, locked doors, small hands glowing in the dark. Just before dawn, the door opened. Ethan stood there, coat torn, knuckles bloody again, but behind him Lily and Mia. Dirty, scared, but whole. They ran to me. I dropped to my knees, pulling them close, sobbing into their hair. My babies. My babies. Ethan watched from the doorway, face pale, eyes shining. He didn't approach, just stood there letting me have this moment. When the girls finally quieted, Lily looked up at him. You fought the bad men. He nodded once. I did. Mia stepped forward, small hand reaching out. She placed it on his forearm where a fresh bruise bloomed purple. Soft light flickered. The bruise faded. Ethan stared at the spot, at her, at me. His breath caught. Thank you, he whispered to her, to me, to whatever force had brought us here. In that quiet, condensed stillness, something inside me shifted. Not forgiveness, not yet, but a crack. A tiny opening where suspicion had been. And in his eyes I saw it mirrored the overwhelming surge beginning. Love fierce, burning, impossible, taking root in the ruins of what he'd done. Outside the city woke to another cold October morning, but inside that penthouse something warmer was starting to grow. The days after the girls came home blurred into something fragile and unreal. Ethan had insisted we stay in the penthouse just until I make sure Victor's people are gone for good, and I didn't have the strength left to argue. The girls slept in a guest room bigger than our old apartment beds, with crisp white sheets and pillows so soft they swallowed their small heads. They woke each morning wide-eyed, touching the curtains like they were made of magic, asking in whispers if this was forever. I let them believe it might be. I couldn't bear to tell them the truth that nothing lasted. Not warmth, not safety, not kindness from men like Ethan Caldwell. I moved through those first days like a shadow cleaning, even though no one asked, folding towels that were already perfect, wiping surfaces that gleamed. Habit, survival. My hands shook when I held a glass. My reflection in the stainless steel refrigerator showed a woman I barely recognized, cheeks, hollow eyes, sunken skin, pale from too many nights without sun. I weighed less than 100 pounds now. My uniform hung like a sack. Every time I passed a mirror, humiliation burned fresh. The woman who once dreamed of college, of a teaching job, of baking birthday cakes with real frosting, reduced to this skeletal figure haunting luxury she could never own. Ethan watched me. Not with judgment, with pain. He would appear in doorways, sleeves rolled to his elbows, tie loosened, looking like a man carrying an invisible weight. He brought food trays of fresh fruit, warm soup sandwiches on thick bread, and left them without a word. When I tried to refuse, he simply said, "The girls need you strong." Then he walked away before I could see the conflict twisting his face. One evening, he found me in the kitchen at 2 a.m, standing over the sink, hands submerged in scalding water as I scrubbed a plate that was already clean. My back ached so badly I could barely stand straight. "You don't have to do that," he said quietly. I didn't turn. I don't know how to stop. He stepped closer, close enough I felt the warmth of him against the cold tile. Sarah, the way he said my name, soft, almost reverent, made something inside me crack wider. I gripped the edge of the sink until my knuckles whitened. "I keep waiting for it to end," I whispered. "For the door to lock. For someone to say it was all a mistake, that people like me don't belong here. He was silent for so long I thought he'd left. Then his hand, gentle, hesitant, covered mine under the water. He turned off the faucet. The sudden quiet was deafening. "You belong wherever you want to be," he said. "And right now I want you here. I need you here." I looked up at him then. His blue eyes were stormy guilt and longing, and something fiercer warring behind them. "I killed your husband," he said again, as if the words were knives he had to drive into himself over and over. "I took everything from you, and yet every time I look at you, at those girls, I feel like I'm drowning in something I don't deserve. Something warm, something alive. It terrifies me." My throat closed. "Then why keep us here? Because losing you would destroy what little is left of me." His voice broke. "I've spent years freezing everything out, building walls so high no one could reach me, but you slipped through Sarah. You and Lily and Mia, and now the thought of you going back to cold nights, to hunger, to fear, it rips me open." I pulled my hand away gently, but the loss of his touch left me dizzy. I leaned against the counter world, tilting. He stepped back, giving me space. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't." "No," I said, quickly surprising myself. Don't apologize for feeling. I don't know how to feel this." He nodded once, slow-pained, then left me alone with the quiet hum of the refrigerator. The next morning brought the first real confrontation. I was in the living room helping the girls color real crayons, real paper colors so bright they hurt my eyes when Ethan's phone rang. He stepped onto the terrace to answer. His voice carried through the glass, low, lethal. "Victor, you crossed a line taking those children. You think you can threaten what's mine?" I froze. The girls looked up, sensing the shift. Ethan's face darkened as he listened. Then he ended the call and came inside. "He wants a meeting. Neutral ground. Downtown. Says he'll back off if I hand over territory." I stood slowly. "You're not going alone." He looked at me surprised, then something softer. "Sarah, I'm coming." My voice trembled but held. "He took my daughters." "I need to see his face when you tell him no." Ethan searched my eyes. Then he nodded. "We left the girls with a trusted housekeeper Ethan swore was safe, an older woman named Clara who baked cookies and smelled like vanilla." The girls hugged me tight. Lily whispered, "Be careful, Mommy." The drive downtown was tense. Ethan's black SUV moved through traffic like it owned the streets. He drove himself, no driver, no entourage. Just us. We met Victor in an empty underground parking garage beneath a half-finished condo project, Victor's project. Concrete pillars, dim fluorescent lights, the smell of oil and damp. Victor waited with 3 men. He smiled when he saw us, cold, predatory. Caldwell. And the cleaning lady. How touching. Ethan stepped in front of me, subtle, protective. "You took 2 children. My children now in every way that matters. You don't walk away from that." Victor laughed. "Your children. You've gone soft. Everyone's talking. Migraines. Doctors running. You're cracking, Ethan." Chicago's smelling blood. Ethan's jaw tightened. "Last chance. Walk away, or I end this tonight." Victor's smile faded. "You think you can protect them forever. One phone call and child services takes them. One whisper and the streets know who they are, what they can do." Fear sliced through me, sharp, nauseating. I stepped forward despite myself. "You leave my girls alone." Victor's eyes flicked to me, amused. "Or what, sweetheart?" Ethan moved fast, controlled. He closed the distance in 3 strides, grabbed Victor by the collar, slammed him against a pillar. Not hard enough to injure. Hard enough to make the point. "You touch them again," Ethan said, voice deadly calm. "And I forget every rule I ever made. I forget business. I forget mercy. I come for everything you love." Victor's men tensed. Ethan's free hand hovered near his side where I knew a concealed holster waited, though he never drew. Victor raised his hand slowly. "Easy. We're just talking." Ethan released him, stepped back, but his eyes never left Victor's. "We're done talking," Ethan said. "You come near them again, you lose everything." Victor straightened his jacket smile, returning thinner now. "We'll see." He walked away. His men followed. The moment they disappeared up the ramp, Ethan turned to me. His face was pale, breathing uneven. "Are you all right?" he asked. I nodded, shaking. You protected us." He reached out, hesitated, then pulled me gently against him. Not possessive, just holding. His heartbeat thundered against my ear. "I've never been so afraid," he whispered. "Not of Victor, of losing you, of failing you again." I didn't pull away. For the first time, I let myself lean into the warmth, the safety he offered. My arms came up, slowly circling his waist. The fabric of his coat was expensive wool. It smelled like him, clean, steady, alive. We stood like that in the cold garage, two broken people clinging to something neither of us fully understood. Back at the penthouse, the girls ran to us. Hugs, questions, laughter that felt like medicine. Ethan knelt to their level. I promise, he told them, no one will ever take you again. Lily placed her small hand on his cheek. We believe you, Daddy Ethan. The word daddy hit him like a physical blow. His eyes filled. He pulled them close, then looked up at me over their heads. The love in his gaze was overwhelming, fierce, burning, absolute. It terrified me. It drew me in. That night I lay awake in the guest room, girls sleeping soundly beside me, while across the hall in his own room, Ethan wrestled with demons I could only imagine. The decline was coming faster now. I saw it in the way he pressed his palm to his temple when he thought no one watched, the way his steps faltered on the stairs, the empty pill bottles he tried to hide. Victor's threat lingered like smoke, and inside me suspicion was burning away, replaced by something hotter, deeper, more dangerous. Love. Impossible. Terrifying. But growing. The invitation arrived in a cream envelope thick enough to feel expensive between my fingers. Gold lettering. Ethan Caldwell requests the pleasure of your company at the grand opening of Caldwell Tower West. Black tie. October 28, 2025. 7 o'clock in the evening. I stared at it for a full minute before the reality sank in. Me. At a gala. In Ethan's world. He found me in the kitchen that afternoon, still in my cleaning clothes, because I hadn't yet dared to open the wardrobe he'd filled for me. Rows of dresses, silk satin, soft wool tags still attached. Prices I couldn't even whisper aloud. You're coming, he said quietly. Not a command. A plea. I shook my head. I don't belong there. You belong wherever I ask you to be. He stepped closer, voice dropping. Sarah Victor will be there. He's been invited publicly as a fellow developer. He wants to humiliate me in front of Chicago's elite. If you're not beside me, if the girls aren't safe in plain sight, he wins. The girls. My heart clenched. They were upstairs now, trying on the little velvet dresses Clara had helped pick, giggling at how the skirts twirled. For the first time in their lives, they looked like children who belonged somewhere beautiful. I looked down at my thin arms, the way my wrists looked fragile against the counter. I'll look ridiculous. Everyone will know I'm the maid who got lucky. Ethan reached out slowly, tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. His fingers lingered. They'll know you're the woman who changed everything. The woman I can't breathe without. The words landed like sparks on dry grass. My chest burned. I stepped back, dizzy. I'll go, I whispered. For the girls. His relief was so raw it hurt to see. That evening, Clara helped me into the dress, a deep midnight blue gown that hugged my frame in ways that made me feel exposed. The fabric whispered against my skin. The neckline dipped just enough to show collarbones sharp from too many missed meals. Clara pinned my hair up, added simple silver earrings Ethan had left on the vanity. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't recognize the woman staring back. Elegant, fragile, almost beautiful. But my eyes were still haunted. My hands still trembled. Ethan waited at the bottom of the curved staircase. Black tuxedo, perfectly tailored. When he saw me, he froze. His breath caught audibly. Sarah. His voice cracked. He crossed the foyer in long strides, stopped one step below me so our eyes were level. You look. He couldn't finish. His hand rose, hesitated, then cupped my cheek. His thumb brushed my skin like I was made of glass. I've never seen anything more beautiful, he whispered. And it's killing me that I almost destroyed you before I ever got to see this. Tears stung my eyes. Don't. I have to. His forehead rested gently against mine. Every second you're near me, the guilt tears deeper. I want to drop to my knees and beg forgiveness. I want to burn this city down if it would erase what I did. But mostly, I just want to keep you safe. Forever. I closed my eyes. The scent of his cologne, clean, expensive, steady, wrapped around me. For one heartbeat, I let myself lean into him. Then the girls ran down, pink and lavender dresses swirling. They stopped staring at us. You look like a princess, Mommy Mia breathed. Ethan knelt. You both look like angels. Lily touched his cheek. Your head hurts again. He flinched just slightly, but she saw. It's okay, he told her. Tonight we pretend it doesn't. The ride to the tower was quiet. Ethan's hand found mine in the back seat, fingers threading through mine, holding on like I might vanish. I didn't pull away. Caldwell Tower West rose like a glass spear against the night sky. Red carpet, photographers. Valets in crisp uniforms, women in jewels that caught every light. Men in tuxedos worth more than my old apartment. We stepped out together. Cameras flashed. Whispers rippled. Is that the cleaning woman? Who is she? Ethan's arm slid around my waist, protective, possessive. Head high, he murmured. You belong here. Inside, crystal chandeliers dripped light, waiters with champagne flutes. A string quartet playing softly. The girls stayed close, wide-eyed, clutching my hands. Victor appeared like smoke, navy suit, red tie, smile sharp as a blade. He approached with deliberate slowness. Caldwell. And company. His gaze slid over me, then the girls. Charming. I didn't realize you were running a daycare now. Ethan's grip on my waist tightened, barely noticeable, but I felt the tremor in his fingers. Careful, Victor. Victor laughed low, mocking. Careful. You're the one who looks like he's about to collapse. Everyone's talking. The headaches, the pills, the doctors running scared. Chicago's wondering if the king's crown is slipping. The room seemed to quiet. Eyes turned. Whispers grew. Ethan's face remained calm, but I felt the storm inside him, remorse, warring with rage. Fear for us, warring with the need to crush Victor here and now. You want to test that theory? Ethan asked softly. Victor stepped closer. I already did. And your little miracles, he glanced at the girls. They won't save you forever. My blood turned to ice. The girls pressed against me, Lily's hand finding mine, squeezing. Ethan moved, subtle, lethal. He leaned in until only Victor could hear. Threaten them again, and I forget every alliance, every deal, every rule. I come for you. And I don't stop. Victor's smile faltered just for a second. Then he raised his glass. To new beginnings. He walked away. The room exhaled. But Ethan didn't relax. His hand shook against my back. I looked up, saw sweat bead on his forehead despite the cool air. Ethan, he forced a smile. I'm fine. He wasn't. Minutes later, during the toast spotlights on him, hundreds of eyes watching, he faltered. One hand gripped the podium. The other pressed to his temple. His voice cracked mid-sentence. The room stilled. Then sudden, violent, his knees buckled. He dropped hard glass shattering beside him. His body jerked once, twice, convulsing. Foam at the corner of his mouth. Eyes rolling white. Screams. Chaos. Phones out. Security rushing forward. I pushed through, girls clinging to me dropped beside him. Ethan. His face was gray. Breathing shallow. Doctors, 2 of them knelt checking pulse pupils. Brain aneurysm rupture, one said. He's bleeding internally. Minutes. He has minutes. The world narrowed to roaring in my ears. Numbness spread from my chest outward. I stared at the man who'd saved us, who'd knelt for me, bled for me, loved me in ways I still couldn't comprehend, dying on marble he owned. Victor stood at the edge of the crowd, smiling. Rage, hot, blinding, flooded me, but beneath it terror, loss, something deeper tearing open. The girls pushed forward, small hands reaching. Mommy, Lily whispered. We can help. I looked at them, tears streaming, then at Ethan, at the doctors, shaking their heads, at the crowd watching like it was theater. I nodded once. They knelt, one on each side. Lily placed her hands on his head, Mia on his chest. Soft golden light bloomed, gentle, warm, impossible. Gasps rippled through the room. Victor's smile vanished. The convulsions slowed, stopped. Color returned to Ethan's face. His breathing steadied. His eyes fluttered open, blue dazed, locked on me. The light faded. Silence absolute. Ethan sat up slowly, shaking, looked at the girls, at me. Tears streamed down his face. He reached for my hand, pulled me close, then wrapped his arms around all 3 of us. I'm sorry, he choked out to me, to them, to the room. I'm so sorry. And in that moment, surrounded by wealth, power, witnesses, something inside him shattered completely. The king had fallen, and the woman he'd once destroyed had just saved him. Again, the gala hall froze in a single shattering instant. Crystal flutes slipped from startled hands. Champagne fizzed across marble like pale blood. Hundreds of Chicago's most powerful developers, politicians, old money families stood, rooted eyes, wide phones forgotten in their palms. Ethan Caldwell, the untouchable king of the skyline, lay crumpled at the foot of the podium. His body jerked once more, violent, helpless, then stilled. Foam gathered at the corner of his mouth. His chest rose in shallow, ragged pulls. The doctors, 2 of the city's best summoned as guests, knelt beside him, faces draining of color. Ruptured aneurysm, the older one said, voice shaking. Massive bleed. He's flooding internally. We need a surgical suite now, minutes, not hours. The younger doctor pressed fingers to Ethan's neck. Pulse thready. He's slipping. I couldn't breathe. The world narrowed to a tunnel, Ethan's pale face, the smear of red on his white shirt collar. From where he'd bitten his lip during the seizure, the way his hand twitched once toward me before going limp. My knees hit the floor hard enough to send pain spiking up my legs, but I felt nothing beyond the cold numbness spreading from my chest outward. The girls pushed through the crowd, small bodies slipping between legs like shadows. Lily reached him first, dropping to her knees beside his head. Mia followed, tears already streaming down her cheeks. Mommy Lily whispered, voice trembling but steady. "We have to help him." I stared at them, my thin, brave girls in their velvet dresses, then at Ethan. The man who'd ordered my husband's ruin. The man who'd kept me in debt and darkness for years. The man who'd knelt in his own penthouse and begged forgiveness, with tears in his eyes. The man who'd fought through concrete garages and dark streets to bring my children home. The doctors shook their heads. "We can't move him. Not like this. He'll be gone before any helicopter lands." Victor stood at the edge of the circle, arms crossed, mouth curved in quiet triumph. His eyes met mine for one heartbeat. Cold satisfaction. Something inside me snapped. Not hatred, not anymore. Something deeper. A mother's terror. A woman's grief. A heart that had begun against every instinct to hope. I nodded once, sharp final. The girls moved without hesitation. Lily placed both small hands on Ethan's temples where the black rot had lived longest. Mia laid hers over his heart, steady, sure. They closed their eyes. At first nothing, then light, soft, golden, warm as morning sun through frost-covered windows. It bloomed from their palms, gentle pulsing spreading across Ethan's face, down his neck, over his chest. The light wrapped him like a blanket, seeping into skin, into bone. Gasps rippled through the room. Phones lifted again, this time recording, not calling. The convulsions had already stopped. Now color flooded back, first to his lips, then his cheeks. His breathing deepened, slow even. The foam at his mouth vanished as if wiped away by invisible hands. His eyelids fluttered. The doctors stared, mouths open. Victor's smile died. The light held for perhaps 30 seconds, long enough for every witness to see, long enough for the impossible to become undeniable, then faded. Softly, gently. Like dawn giving way to day. Ethan's eyes opened. Blue, clear, focused. He looked first at the girls, tears already spilling down his face, then at me. "Sarah." His voice was hoarse, cracked, but alive. He pushed himself up, slow, trembling, ignoring the doctor's protests. His hand found mine, gripped hard. Then he pulled Lily and Mia into his arms, crushing them against his chest, as if he could shield them from the world that had just seen what they could do. "I'm sorry," he choked out to them, to me, to the stunned room. "I'm so sorry for everything." The girls clung to him, small arms tight around his neck. "You're okay now," Mia whispered. "The black is gone." Lily pressed her cheek to his. "You don't have to hurt anymore." Ethan broke, then truly broke. Shoulders shaking, tears streaming unchecked. The most powerful man in Chicago's underworld reduced to sobs on a gala floor, surrounded by witnesses who'd once feared him. I knelt beside them, arms wrapping around all three. My own tears fell hot and silent. The contrast crushed me anew, me in a borrowed gown that still smelled faintly of thrift store tags. Them in velvet, now wrinkled from hugging him in a tuxedo stained with his own blood and sweat. Wealth and ruin tangled together on marble that cost more per square foot than I'd earned in a decade. Security moved in, forming a loose circle. Cameras flashed. Whispers became murmurs, became a low roar. Victor backed away, face pale, then slipped toward an exit. Ethan's eyes followed him, cold fury flashing beneath the tears. "Not tonight," he rasped. "But soon." He looked back at me, raw, exposed. "I don't deserve this," he said to me, a lone voice barely above a whisper. "I don't deserve you saving me. Not after what I took from you. But God help me, Sarah, I love you. I've loved you since the moment I saw you on that rain-soaked street holding those girls like they were the only thing keeping you alive. And it's killing me that I ever made you suffer." The words landed like blows, soft ones, deep ones. My chest ached so fiercely I couldn't breathe. "I hated you," I whispered back. "For years. Every cold night. Every empty cupboard. Every time the girls asked why we couldn't have heat. I hated you so much it kept me breathing." His hand tightened on mine, pain and longing twisting his features. And now, he asked, voice breaking. I looked at him, at the man who'd once been my nightmare, now crying openly in front of Chicago's elite. At the girls who'd just healed him without hesitation. At the impossible light that still lingered faintly in the air between us. "I don't know," I admitted, soft, timid, honest. "But I'm not running anymore." He exhaled, shuddering. Then he pulled me closer, forehead resting against mine, while the girls stayed tucked between us. The crowd began to stir, some applauding hesitantly, others whispering furiously. Phones, still recording. The story would spread like fire by morning. Ethan stood slowly, helping me up with him. His legs shook, but he held himself straight. He looked out at the room, eyes hard now, the king, resurfacing beneath the broken man. "Let it be known," he said, voice carrying, despite the weakness. "Anyone who comes for my family answers to me. No mercy. No second chances." Silence fell absolute. Then he turned to me soft again. "Let's go home," he said. Home. The word echoed inside me, strange, dangerous, beautiful. We walked out together, his arm around my waist, the girls holding our hands past, stunned faces past, flashing cameras past Victor's empty space at the edge of the crowd. In the elevator private quiet, he leaned against the wall, breathing hard. I stepped closer, hesitant, then rested my head against his shoulder. He wrapped both arms around me, tight, desperate. "Thank you," he whispered into my hair, "for saving me when I never deserved it." I closed my eyes, tears slipping free. "I didn't do it for you," I said softly. "I did it for them. And maybe a little for the man I'm starting to see beneath the monster." He shuddered, holding me tighter. Outside Chicago glittered cold, vast, unforgiving. But inside that elevator, 4 people who'd been shattered and remade, something unbreakable was forming. Love. Fierce, burning, terrifying, and growing stronger with every heartbeat. The elevator doors closed on the gala chaos, with a soft chime sealing us inside a sudden, fragile quiet. Ethan leaned against the mirrored wall, still pale, still trembling from whatever had torn through his brain only minutes earlier. The girls clung to my legs, one on each side, their small hands fisted in the midnight blue silk of my borrowed gown. I kept one arm around each of them, the other reaching instinctively toward Ethan. My fingers brushed his sleeve. He caught my hand immediately, holding on as if letting go would unravel him completely. No one spoke during the descent. The only sounds were our breathing, uneven, ragged, and the faint hum of machinery. When the doors opened onto the private underground garage, 2 of Ethan's men waited beside the black SUV. They stared, wide-eyed, speechless, at their boss, alive and upright when every doctor in the room had pronounced him finished. Ethan nodded once. Home. Now, the ride back was silent again. Streetlights slid across our faces in slow golden bars. I watched the city blur past neon signs, towering condos, the glittering lakefront, and felt the chasm between that world and the one I'd known yawn, wider than ever. Yesterday I had slept on a laundromat floor with trash bags for pillows. Tonight I sat in heated leather seats beside a man who owned half the skyline. The contrast pressed against my ribs until breathing hurt. When we reached the penthouse, Clara met us at the door, eyes red from crying, hands clasped tight. She took one look at Ethan's blood-streaked shirt and the girls' tear-streaked faces, and simply opened her arms. The twins ran to her. She folded them close, murmuring soft things in Polish the way she always did when they were scared. Ethan watched them for a long moment. Then he turned to me. "Come with me," he said quietly. He led me down the hallway, past rooms I'd never entered, into his private study, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a massive oak desk, windows overlooking the dark expanse of Lake Michigan. He closed the door behind us. The silence stretched thick, heavy. He walked to the desk, opened a drawer, removed a single sheet of paper. He laid it flat, then took a pen from a crystal holder. "This," he said, voice low, "is the debt ledger. $250,000. Every cent James owed. Every cent I enforced after he was gone." My stomach twisted. I hadn't seen the number written out in years, not since the collectors shoved the papers under my nose and told me to sign or lose the girls. Ethan uncapped the pen. His hand shook just slightly, but he steadied it. "Consider it gone." He drew a single line through the balance, then another. Then he wrote in bold strokes, "Paid in full. Forgiven. October 29th, 2025. He signed his name beneath it, Ethan Caldwell, then pushed the paper toward me. I stared at it. The ink was still wet. "I don't understand," I whispered. "You don't have to work another day in my buildings. You don't have to scrub floors or fold towels or hide your children in basements. You're free, Sarah. Completely free." Tears blurred the words. I blinked them back. "Why now?" "Because I almost died tonight." His voice cracked. "And the last thing I saw, the last thing I felt was you and the girls kneeling beside me, giving me back my life when I'd spent years stealing yours." He stepped closer, slow, careful. "I've carried guilt like a stone in my chest for so long I forgot what breathing without it felt like. Tonight it shattered. And what's left underneath is you." I looked up at him, really looked. The man who'd once been my nightmare now stood before me with tears on his cheeks, sleeves rolled up, collar stained, eyes pleading. "I can't forgive you," I said softly. "Not yet. Maybe not ever." "I know." He swallowed hard. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for a chance to earn something better than forgiveness. A chance to protect you. To make sure you and the girls never know cold or hunger or fear again. He reached into another drawer, pulled out a slim folder. Opened it. Inside keys. A set of gleaming silver keys attached to a small leather fob shaped like a tiny house. This is the deed to a 3-bedroom condo on the 28th floor. Same building. Private elevator access. Full security. It's yours. No rent, no mortgage, no strings. My knees buckled. I caught the edge of the desk world tilting. I can't accept that I breathed. You already have. He placed the keys in my palm, closed my fingers around them. His hand lingered over mine, warm, steady. And tomorrow morning, I'm calling the best pediatric tutors in the city. The girls start private lessons, no more hiding in break rooms. They start real school next week, whatever school you choose. I've already spoken to admissions at the top private academies. Full scholarships. Discreet. Safe. Tears spilled over. I couldn't stop them. Why? The word came out small, broken. Because every time I look at you, I see the life I stole. The nights you spent shivering in laundromats while I slept on Egyptian cotton. The meals you skipped so the girls could eat while I ordered steak from private chefs. The fear in your eyes every time a collector knocked fear I created. His voice dropped to a raw whisper. And because the moment Lily called me daddy tonight, something inside me came alive again. Something I thought died with my mother when I was 15. I can't give you back, James. I can't undo the past, but I can give you the future you deserve. I stared at the keys in my hand, cold metal heavy with promise. My other hand rose, hesitant touched his cheek. His stubble was rough against my fingertips. He closed his eyes at the contact like it hurt and healed at once. I'm scared, I admitted, voice trembling. Of trusting this. Of trusting you. Of believing it won't disappear when I wake up. I know. He opened his eyes, blue depths swimming with remorse and longing, and I'll spend every day proving it won't. He stepped back, gave me space. Then he walked to the window, stared out at the dark lake. There's more, he said quietly. Victor won't stop. Tonight was public. Everyone saw. Word will spread about the girls, about what they can do. I've already doubled security. I've called in favors old ones I swore I'd never use again. But if he comes for you, for them. He turned. His face was carved from stone, yet his eyes burned. I'll end it. Whatever it takes. No one touches my family. The word family landed soft and heavy between us. I crossed the room, slow steps on thick carpet, until I stood in front of him. I looked up, way up into the face of the man who'd once been my enemy. I don't know what we are, I whispered. But tonight you didn't die. And my girls are safe. And for the first time in years, I'm not afraid to fall asleep. A tear slipped down his cheek. He didn't wipe it away. Then stay, he said. Stay tonight. Stay tomorrow. Stay as long as you'll let me prove I can be more than the monster I was. I nodded once, small, trembling. He exhaled, shuddering, then pulled me gently against him. His arms wrapped around me, careful, reverent. I rested my cheek against his chest, heard his heart thundering beneath expensive wool and cotton. My thin arms came up, circled his waist. We stood like that quiet, condensed stillness while outside the wind howled against glass that cost more than I'd ever earned. Inside, something was shifting. Not forgiveness, not yet, but possibility, redemption, and love, fierce, burning, terrifying, taking root in the ruins of everything we'd both lost. The first week after the gala passed in a strange, suspended hush. The condo on the 28th floor became ours, truly ours overnight. 3 bedrooms with windows that framed the lake like paintings. A kitchen bigger than our old apartment, stocked with food I'd only seen in magazines. The girls ran barefoot across hardwood floors, laughing at echoes they'd never heard before. They slept in beds with real mattresses, not thin foam on concrete. They woke without shivering. For the first time in their lives, breakfast waited on the table, fresh fruit, warm oatmeal milk that didn't taste like powder. I moved through those days like someone walking on glass, afraid one wrong step would shatter everything. My body still remembered hunger, the way a bruise remembers pressure. My arms stayed thin. My ribs still showed when I changed. Sleep came in, fits nightmares of locked doors and empty cupboards, waking me gasping. I'd slip out of bed pad to the kitchen in borrowed silk pajamas that felt too soft against my skin, and stand at the window watching the city lights until dawn. The wealth around me felt borrowed, fragile, like a beautiful coat I'd have to return. Ethan gave us space, always careful, always watching. He worked from his study most days, phone calls low and clipped, but he appeared at dinner every night. He sat at the head of the table, tuxedo traded for soft sweaters, listening to the girls chatter about their new tutor, their first art lesson, the way the elevator played quiet music. His eyes, those piercing blue eyes, would drift to me again and again, filled with a longing so deep it hurt to meet. One evening he found me in the laundry room, folding clothes that weren't dirty habit too strong to break. He leaned in the doorway, arms crossed. "You don't have to do that," he said gently. "I know." My voice came out small. "But if I stop, I'm afraid I'll disappear." He stepped inside slow, until he stood close enough that I could feel his warmth. "You won't. Not here. Not with me." I looked up, tears already gathering. "You don't know what it's like to wake up every day wondering if today's the day it all ends. The cold, the hunger, the shame of begging at food pantries while people look through you like you're invisible." His face twisted remorse so sharp it carved lines around his mouth. "I do know. Because every time I close my eyes I see you on that sidewalk in the rain. Trash bags at your feet. The girls clinging to you, and I know I put you there. I built the system that kept you there." His voice dropped to a raw whisper. "The guilt never sleeps, Sarah. It wakes me at 3 a.m, clawing at my chest, reminding me I almost destroyed the only good thing that's ever happened to me." I reached out hesitant, touched his arm. "Then why keep going? Why not let us go? Because letting you go would kill me slower than any aneurysm ever could." He covered my hand with his warm, steady. "I love you, Sarah. I've loved you since that first night in the garage, when you stepped in front of your girls and stared down men who could have ended you without blinking. It started as guilt. It became gratitude. Now it's everything." The confession landed soft and heavy. My heart stuttered, fear and wonder tangling together. Before I could answer, his phone buzzed sharp, insistent. He glanced at the screen, face hardening. "Victor's moving. Tonight." Fear iced my veins. "The girls. They're safe here. Clara's with them. Double security. But he's targeting you. He thinks if he takes you, he controls me." He looked at me, torn between keeping me locked away and the knowledge that Victor would never stop. "I'm coming with you," I said, voice shaking but firm. "Sarah, no." I stepped closer. "He took my children once. I won't hide while he tries again." Ethan searched my face, then nodded once. "Stay behind me. Always." We left the building through a service exit, Ethan in dark jacket and jeans, me in borrowed black coat and boots. 2 of his men flanked us. The night air bit cold. October wind off the lake, slicing through layers. We drove in silence to an old warehouse district near the river, dark, abandoned, perfect for ambushes. Victor waited under a single sodium light, 4 men behind him. He smiled when he saw us. "Caldwell. And the maid who thinks she's queen now." Ethan stepped forward, body shielding mine. "This ends tonight, Victor. Walk away, or I make sure you never walk again." Victor laughed low, mocking. "You're weak. Everyone knows it. The great Ethan Caldwell, brought down by migraines and miracles. You can't protect them forever." He nodded to his men. They moved fast. Ethan's men met them, quiet, controlled. No guns drawn. Fists, blocks, pushes against chain-link fences, grunts, the sound of boots on concrete. I stayed back, heart hammering, until one of Victor's men broke through, lunging toward me. Ethan spun, caught the man mid-stride, slammed him against a rusted dumpster. The man crumpled. Victor drew a knife, slow, deliberate. Ethan didn't flinch. "You really want to do this here?" In front of witnesses, Victor glanced around, saw the security cameras Ethan's men had already disabled, smiled wider. Then he lunged, not at Ethan. At me. I stumbled back, tripped on broken asphalt, fell hard. Pain shot through my hip. Victor's knife flashed, aimed low. Ethan roared, raw primal, tackled Victor before the blade could connect. They hit the ground, rolling. Fists. Elbows. The knife skittered away. I scrambled up, dizzy, nauseated, saw Ethan pin Victor's forearm across his throat. "Enough!" Ethan snarled. "You're done." Victor gasped, then laughed, choked. "You think this saves her? Child Services is already looking. 2 miracles in public, they'll take the girls. Say they're dangerous. Say you're unfit." Terror, white-hot, flooded me. Ethan's grip tightened. Then slowly he released. Stood. Looked down at Victor. "You're wrong," he said quietly. "Because those girls aren't just miracles. One of them is mine." The words hung impossible. Victor stilled. I froze. Ethan turned to me, eyes wet, voice breaking. "Lily," he said. "She's mine. I didn't know until tonight when I saw her eyes in the light. The same blue as mine. The same shape. 7 years ago, one night. I never knew her name. I never knew she existed. My knees gave out. I sank to the cold ground, world spinning. Lily, my Lily, his daughter. The truth tore through me, shock, betrayal, wonder, grief. James had loved her as his own. Raised her. Died thinking she was his. And all along. Ethan dropped beside me, hands hovering, afraid to touch. I'm sorry, he choked. I didn't know. If I had, you would have taken her, I whispered, voice small shattered. You would have claimed her. Used her. He flinched like I'd struck him. Maybe he admitted raw. Back then. But now? He cupped my face, gentle, desperate. Now I only want to protect her. Protect both of them. Protect you. Tears streamed down my face. She's mine. She's ours, he said, voice cracking. If you'll let her be. Victor laughed weak. Beautiful. But it changes nothing. Ethan stood slow, turned to Victor. It changes everything. He nodded to his men. They dragged Victor up none too gently. Take him to the precinct, Ethan said. Full confession. Every deal. Every threat. He's done. Victor's eyes widened. You're turning me in. You, the kingpin. Ethan looked down at him, cold final. I'm not the kingpin anymore. I'm a father. They took Victor away. Ethan knelt again, pulled me into his arms. I didn't fight. I buried my face in his chest, sobbing for everything, lost everything found. I love you, he whispered against my hair. All of you. Lily most of all. And I'll spend the rest of my life proving I deserve even a fraction of what you've given me. I clung to him, thin arms tight around the man who'd once been my ruin. And in that dark warehouse lot, cold wind whipping around us, something new was born. Family, truth, and love passionate, burning, overwhelming, refusing to let go. The days after the warehouse confrontation settled into an uneasy rhythm. The condo on the 28th floor became both sanctuary and cage. Beautiful, safe, yet shadowed by truths too heavy to speak aloud. Lily knew something had changed. She watched Ethan with new intensity, those blue eyes, so like his asking quiet questions no 7-year-old should have to ask. Why do you look at me like I'm a secret? She whispered one afternoon while coloring at the kitchen island. Ethan knelt beside her, stool voice thick. Because you are the best secret I never knew I had, sweetheart. I watched from the doorway, arms wrapped tight around myself, heart twisting between wonder and grief. James had held her first. James had sung her lullabies. James had died believing she was his. And now the man responsible for that death cradled her future in trembling hands. My body still carried the old poverty like a ghost. Even in silk pajamas and heated rooms, I woke cold inside, skin too thin, bones too sharp. I caught myself hiding leftovers in napkins just in case, then crying silently in the pantry when I realized no one would take them away. The refrigerator hummed with abundance, fresh berries, thick yogurt bread that didn't crumble, but my hands shook when I reached for anything. Years of rationing had carved habits deeper than hunger ever did. Ethan saw it all. He never commented. He simply began leaving small things, cashmere, throw blankets draped over chairs, new socks in my drawer, a bowl of warm soup on the nightstand when I worked late helping the girls with homework. Each gesture felt like an apology he couldn't voice. Then came the call. Late October afternoon, gray sky pressing low over the lake. Ethan's phone rang in the study. I heard his voice low at first, then sharp. Dad, I froze in the hallway. He emerged minutes later, face ashen. He's in the hospital. Pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. They're saying weeks. The words landed like stones. Ethan's father, retired Chicago PD detective, the man who disowned him at 19 when the first whispers of organized connections reached the precinct. The man who hadn't spoken to his son in almost 20 years. He won't see me, Ethan said, voice hollow. But the nurse. She said he asked for me. Just once. Before the pain meds take him under. I stepped closer, hesitant. Go. He looked at me, eyes raw. I can't leave you. Not after Victor. Not after everything. The girls and I are safe here. You have security. Go see your father. He searched my face, then nodded once. Come with me. I hesitated. Then softly, okay. We drove in silence to Northwestern Memorial, Ethan's knuckles white on the wheel. The hospital smelled of antiseptic and worry. We found the room on the oncology floor door, half-open monitors beeping softly. Robert Caldwell lay small against white sheets, once a tall, broad man in uniform, now hollowed by disease. Silver hair thin. Skin yellowed, oxygen tubes under his nose. He opened his eyes when we entered, focused on Ethan. No warmth, only recognition. You came, Robert rasped. Ethan stopped at the foot of the bed, hands clenched at his sides. You asked. Robert's gaze shifted to me, then widened slightly. The woman from the news. The one with the children. I stepped forward, voice soft, timid. Sarah Mitchell, sir. He studied me then, the way Ethan's hand hovered near my back, protective. You're the reason he's here. Ethan flinched. Dad, don't. Robert coughed, wet, painful. I read the stories. Saw the video. 2 little girls. Light. Saving you. His eyes filled. I thought you were lost. Thought the boy I raised died the day your mother did. Ethan's breath hitched. I did die that day. I just kept walking. Robert looked at me again. And you brought him back. I shook my head, tears gathering. No, the girls did. Robert closed his eyes, pain etching deeper lines. I'm dying. They say days now. Maybe less. Ethan stepped closer, voice breaking. I'm sorry. For everything. For the shame I brought. For never coming home. Robert opened his eyes, wet. I pushed you away. I was ashamed, too. A cop's son running with shadows. I couldn't face it, but I watched. Every arrest you avoided. Every building you built. I watched. Silence stretched thick with years of unsaid words. Then Robert whispered, The girls. They're yours, Ethan nodded, tears falling freely. One is Lily. I didn't know until days ago. Robert's face softened, something like wonder breaking through pain. Bring them. Ethan looked at me, question in his eyes. I nodded. Clara arrived 30 minutes later with the twins. They entered shyly, Lily clutching Mia's hand. They stopped at the bed, staring at the frail man. Robert lifted a trembling hand. Come here, little ones. They approached slow. Lily first. She looked into Robert's eyes, then placed her small hand on his forehead. Mia mirrored her hand over his heart. Soft, golden light bloomed, gentle, warm. The monitors beeped, steadier. Color returned to Robert's cheeks. Pain lines eased. His breathing deepened, clearer. The light faded. Robert opened his eyes, clear, stronger. He stared at the girls, tears streaming. You healed me. Lily smiled, small, shy. You were hurting. We don't like when people hurt. Robert reached out slow, touched Lily's cheek, then Mia's. Thank you. He looked at Ethan, voice steadier. I was wrong. About so much. I let grief make me hard. I let pride keep me away. But seeing this, seeing you with them, with her, he looked at me soft. You're family now, he said. All of you. Ethan sank to his knees beside the bed, head bowed. Sobs shook his shoulders, quiet, wrenching. Robert reached out, placed a frail hand on his son's head. My boy, he whispered. I'm proud of you. For coming back. Ethan lifted his head, tears streaming. I love you, Dad. Robert smiled, weak but real. I love you too. Always did. I stood back, arms around the girls, tears falling silently. The room filled with quiet, condensed stillness, years of fracture knitting together in soft golden light. Later, after Robert drifted into peaceful sleep, doctors rushing in with stunned faces, Ethan pulled me into the hallway. He leaned against the wall, exhausted, undone. I didn't think I'd ever hear those words again, he said, voice raw. I didn't think I deserved them. I stepped closer, hesitant, then rested my hand on his chest, felt his heart racing beneath expensive wool. You do, I whispered. You fought for us. You changed for us. You're still changing. He covered my hand with his eyes searching mine. I love you, Sarah, more than I know how to say, more than I ever thought I could feel again. The confession burned fierce, overwhelming. My own heart answered, tentative then stronger. I'm starting to love you too, I admitted, voice trembling, even when it hurts. Even when I'm scared. He pulled me close, arms wrapping tight. I buried my face in his shoulder, thin frame against solid strength. In that hospital hallway, fluorescent lights humming overhead, we stood together. A family remade. A past forgiven, not erased, but carried forward with new weight. Outside October, wind howled against glass. Inside, something unbreakable had taken root. Love, redemption, and the quiet promise of tomorrow. The hospital visit left a fragile peace in its wake. The kind that feels like thin ice over deep water. Robert Caldwell, once estranged, now miraculously mending, insisted on being discharged early. Ethan arranged private nursing care in a quiet suite at the penthouse building 2 floors below ours. Father and son began tentative conversations, short at first, then longer words that had waited 20 years to be spoken. The girls visited daily, sitting on the edge of Robert's bed, telling him stories about school, about the way the lake looked when the sun rose pink over the water. He listened with eyes that had forgotten how to soften until they remembered. I watched it all from doorways, from corners, still half convinced the warmth would vanish if I looked too directly. My body hadn't caught up to the safety. I still woke at 4 a.m, heart racing, expecting the landlord's knock or the cold bite of wind through cracked windows that no longer existed. My arms remained thin, my collarbones sharp under borrowed cashmere. I caught myself hiding bread rolls and napkins during dinner, then weeping silently in the marble bathroom when I realized no one would take them away. Shame burned hotter than gratitude sometimes. Ethan noticed everything. He never commented on the hidden food. He simply began leaving small, thoughtful things. A cashmere scarf folded on my chair, a bowl of warm chamomile tea on the nightstand, new wool socks in my drawer that felt impossibly soft against feet, that remembered threadbare cotton. Each gesture carried apology he couldn't voice yet. Then came the night that broke the fragile peace. It was a quiet Tuesday, late October 2025. The girls were asleep in their rooms. Robert rested downstairs. Ethan and I sat in the living room after dinner fireplace, low city lights glittering beyond floor-to-ceiling glass. He held my hand, thumb tracing slow circles over my knuckles, telling me in halting words about the foundation he wanted to create free clinics across the south and west sides named for James and for the girls. A way to give back what he'd taken. I listened, heart aching with something too large to name when his phone buzzed on the coffee table. He glanced at the screen, frowned, answered. Marcus. His voice sharpened. Slow down. Where I watched his face change color, draining jaw-locking. Stay there. I'm coming. He ended the call, looked at me, eyes dark with something I hadn't seen since the warehouse. One of Victor's old lieutenants. Says he has proof Victor's still pulling strings from Holding. Names, accounts, enough to bury him for good. But he's scared. Wants to meet in person. Neutral ground. Tonight. Fear coiled in my stomach. You can't go alone. I won't. He stood already, moving toward the coat closet. 2 men are meeting me there. But Sarah. He turned, cupped my face gently. Stay here. Lock everything. Clara's here. Security's tripled. Promise me. I nodded, though dread sat heavy in my chest. He kissed my forehead, lingering, then left. The condo felt too large without him. I paced. Tried to read. Tried to sleep. Nothing worked. At 1 a.m, I gave up, slipped into the kitchen for tea. That was when I heard it. A soft click from the service door. I froze. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, moved through the laundry room, toward the hallway. My heart slammed against my ribs. I backed toward the island, hand closing around the handle of a chef's knife from the block. The blade gleamed under low lights. Marcus stepped into view, not the frightened Lieutenant Ethan expected. Tall, broad, face calm, too calm. He carried a silenced pistol loose at his side. Mrs. Mitchell, he said, voice polite, almost gentle. Don't scream. We're just going to talk. Terror flooded me, cold, numbing. Where's Ethan busy? Marcus smiled thin. He's meeting the wrong man tonight. I made sure of it. I backed away, knife trembling in my grip. Why? Because he's gone soft. Marcus stepped closer. Because of you. Because of those girls. The family. The foundation. He's dismantling everything we built. And I can't let that happen. He lifted the pistol, slow, deliberate. I'm sorry, he said, almost sounding like he meant it. But you're the weakness. Remove you. And he remembers who he is. My legs shook. The knife felt useless, ridiculous against steel. I thought of the girls asleep down the hall. Of Robert downstairs. Of Ethan somewhere in the dark city walking into a trap. Marcus took another step. Then behind him the hallway light flared. Ethan stood there, coat, gone sleeves, rolled face, carved from fury. He'd come back early, sensed something wrong, raced home. Marcus spun, pistol rising. Ethan moved faster than I'd ever seen, closed the distance in 2 strides, grabbed Marcus's wrist, twisted hard. The pistol clattered across marble. They grappled, silent, brutal. Fists, elbows, grunts. Marcus drove Ethan back against the island, breath whooshing out. Ethan's head snapped back, blood blooming at his lip. I screamed, dropped the knife, lunged forward, grabbed a heavy cast-iron skillet from the stove. Marcus turned, saw me, smiled. Then Ethan roared low, primal, slammed his forehead into Marcus's nose. Blood sprayed. Marcus staggered. Ethan pinned him, knee in his back, wrenched his arms behind him. Call security, Ethan rasped, voice shaking with rage and something deeper. I fumbled for the intercom, hands numb, called down. Minutes later, 2 men in black rushed in, cuffed Marcus, dragged him away. Ethan stayed on the floor, breathing hard, blood dripping from his lip. He looked up at me, eyes wild, terrified. I almost lost you, he choked. Again. I dropped beside him, arms wrapping around his shoulders, pulling him close. He buried his face in my neck, shuddering. I trusted him, he whispered, voice breaking. 15 years. My right hand. My brother. And he sold us out. For money. For power. Because I dared to change. I held him tighter, felt the violent tremor in his frame. You changed for us, I said, soft, fierce. And that's why he hated you. Because you became something he couldn't be. He lifted his head, eyes wet, searching mine. I love you, he said, raw, desperate. So much it hurts. So much I'd burn everything down to keep you safe. And tonight I almost failed. You didn't. I cupped his face, thumbs brushing blood from his lip. You came back. You always come back. He closed his eyes, leaned into my touch. Then slowly he pulled me onto his lap, arms wrapping tight. We sat on the cold marble floor, surrounded by wealth that suddenly felt meaningless, two people clinging to each other in the wreckage of betrayal. The girls appeared in the doorway, sleepy, frightened, drawn by the noise. They ran to us, small bodies pressing between. Ethan pulled them close, holding all three of us, tears falling freely now. I'm sorry, he whispered to them, to me. I'm so sorry I brought this into our home. Lily touched his cheek, small hand, gentle. You kept us safe, Daddy. The word Daddy shattered him again. He sobbed, quiet, wrenching, while we held him. In that moment, on cold marble beneath glittering chandeliers, something inside him collapsed completely. Not weakness, surrender. To love, to family, to the man he was becoming. And in my chest, fear burned away, leaving only fierce, burning certainty. I loved him too. Passionately, intensely, completely, no matter what came next. The betrayal of Marcus left scars deeper than any knife could cut. Ethan moved through the days that followed like a man carrying fresh wounds beneath his tailored shirts, silent for hours, then suddenly pulling me close, as if afraid I might vanish. The penthouse, once a symbol of unreachable wealth, now felt like a fortress we had all bled to defend. Security doubled again. Cameras in every hallway. Men posted at every entrance. Yet the real danger lived inside us, the fear that trust once shattered might never fully mend. I still woke before dawn, body remembering hunger even when the kitchen overflowed with food. My arms remained thin. My ribs pressed against skin every time I breathed too deeply. Sleep came in fragments, nightmares of cold wind through broken windows of trash bags soaked on sidewalks, of small hands reaching for me in the dark. I would slip from bed pad barefoot, across heated marble, and stand at the floor-to-ceiling glass watching Lake Michigan turn from black to silver under the rising sun. The contrast crushed me anew outside. People hurried to jobs that barely paid rent. Inside, I stood in borrowed silk that cost more than I once earned in 6 months. Ethan found me there one morning, November 1st, 2025, just before dawn. He wore only sweatpants and a plain white t-shirt, hair still damp from the shower. No suit, no armor, just the man beneath the empire. He didn't speak at first, simply stepped behind me, arms sliding around my waist, chin resting gently on my shoulder. His warmth seeped through thin silk. His heartbeat thudded steady against my back. I almost lost you, he whispered, voice raw. Again, I turned in his arms, looked up into those blue eyes that had once terrified me, now filled only with quiet desperation. You didn't, I said softly. You came back. You always come back. He cupped my face, thumbs brushing my cheekbones. I don't deserve you, Sarah. I never did. I built walls so high no one could reach me, and you walked right through them. You and the girls. You healed places in me I didn't know were broken. Tears gathered in my eyes. You healed places in me too, places I thought were gone forever. His breath caught. Then slowly, reverently, he leaned down and kissed me. The first touch of his lips was hesitant, testing as if afraid I might pull away. But I didn't. I rose on my toes, thin arms wrapping around his neck, pulling him closer. The kiss deepened slow at first, then fierce, hungry, desperate. Years of pain, of hatred, of fear, of longing poured into that single moment. His hand slid down my back, pressing me against him while mine tangled in his damp hair. We kissed like people drowning who had finally found air. When we broke apart, gasping, his forehead rested against mine. I love you, he said, voice shaking. Not because you saved me, not because of what the girls can do. Because you're you. Because even when you had nothing, you gave everything. Because even when I was the monster, you saw something worth saving. I touched his lips, still swollen from the kiss. I love you too, I whispered, voice trembling but sure. I fought it so hard. I hated you for so long, but every time you chose us, every time you came back, every time you knelt for me, for them, the hate burned away. What's left is this. Us. He kissed me again, deeper, this time lifting me gently onto the wide windowsill. My legs wrapped around his waist. His hands cradled me like I was something infinitely precious. We stayed like that, kissing, breathing each other in, while the city woke below us. Later, after the girls ran into the living room demanding breakfast, we sat together at the long table. Ethan at the head. Me beside him. Lily and Mia across from us chattering about school projects and playground adventures. Robert joined via video call from his suite downstairs, face healthier every day, laughing at the girls' stories. After breakfast, Ethan asked Clara to watch the children. Then he took my hand, led me back to the bedroom we now shared. He closed the door softly, turned to me. "I want to marry you," he said, voice low, certain. "Not because of guilt, not because of the girls, because I can't imagine another day without you beside me, because you make me want to be better. Every single day." Tears spilled down my cheeks. "Yes," I whispered. "Yes." We married 2 weeks later, private ceremony on the rooftop terrace overlooking the lake. No press, no crowds, just us, the girls in pale pink dresses, Robert standing tall beside his son Clara, dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief. The officiant spoke simple words about love that sees beyond past mistakes, beyond wealth or poverty, beyond skin color or station. When Ethan slid the plain gold band onto my finger, his hand shook. "I promise," he said, voice thick, "to love you every day, to protect you, to build a life where you never know cold or hunger again, to be the man you deserve." I placed the matching band on his finger, tears falling freely. "I promise to love you back," I said softly, "to remind you who you really are. To forgive, not forget, but to choose love every day." We kissed beneath a sky, turning pink and gold, girls cheering, Robert wiping his eyes, Clara clapping. Afterward, we stood together at the railing, my head on Ethan's shoulder, watching the city that had once felt so cruel. "I used to think wealth was power," he murmured. "Now I know love is the only real power. It doesn't care about bank accounts. It doesn't care about past sins. It only cares about what we choose to do with the time we have left." I squeezed his hand. And compassion. Compassion sees the human being inside every person, no matter how dark the road they walked. He kissed my temple. Knowledge teaches us that no one is beyond redemption. Lesson after lesson shows that kindness can heal what cruelty broke. Education of the heart matters more than any degree. Knowledge reminds us that love crosses every divide. Lesson upon lesson proves that true wealth is measured in compassion. He turned me to face him, cupped my face. "I wish everyone watching this video good health, a joyful life, and daily peace," he said, voice steady now. "May you find the courage to choose love even when it hurts. May you offer compassion even when it's hard. May you remember that no amount of money or power can replace a heart that chooses kindness." I smiled through tears, then spoke directly to the invisible audience. If this story touched you, if it reminded you of your own struggles, your own miracles, your own chances to forgive, please subscribe to the channel Alex Truths, like this video, and share it with someone who needs to hear that love and compassion can change everything. Tell us in the comments, how did this story make you feel? Does it connect to something real in your life? Share your emotions, your joys, your pains, your hopes, so we can listen to the deepest parts of your hearts. Ethan pulled me close again. "Goodbye for now," I said softly. "We'll see you again in the next video." And in that quiet rooftop moment, surrounded by family, by light, by second chances, we held each other while the city hummed below. Love had won. Not perfectly, not easily, but completely. Disclaimer: all stories on this channel are fictional and created solely for entertainment purposes. Any resemblance to real people, events, or places is purely coincidental.